At the devil are we, I'm Matt. Apparently, people, probably the general public in the US of A, are surprised that the Pentagon has been investigating UFOs. I'm not sure I'm surprised by that, to be honest. According to Lue, he's surprised that people are surprised. Let's take a look.
Didn't end there. Joining me now is someone who appears in the age of disclosure. Lue Elizondo is a former Pentagon official. He's also executive producer of the documentary. Lue, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I just got to ask you first about what I was talking to Dan Farr about. Two different alien species. Can you tell me anything about them?
Well, what you're referring to was the alleged potential landing of Holloman Air Force Base back in the 1950s.
Okay, I don't know if that's on Lue's side or whether it's on the NewsNation side. But NewsNation, if that's on your side, you need a placard or something where it says, right, we're filming, we're recording, shut the F up. Because there's a lot of people making a lot of noise in the background.
Where a vehicle, a craft of unknown origin, had landed at the edge of the airfield and initiated contact with individuals from both the Central Intelligence Agency and the United States Air Force. And if that's the case, think of what the consequences of that, right? That means that somewhere someone had maybe perhaps pre-coordinated or arranged or was aware of this potential landing, enough so that individuals on the base were actually alerted and prepared for and waiting for these craft, right? So that kind of gives you an idea that perhaps there was some sort of dialogue or some sort of communication, perhaps even before that event took place.
I'd be really worried if there's a non-human intelligence out there, okay, that is, for better or worse, call it future humans, call it interdimensional beings, call it intraterrestrial, they live deep in the oceans, call it extraterrestrial, they live in another planet, in another part of the galaxy, a different galaxy, something we've not even thought of, the angels or demons. I'd be really worried if their contacts with humanity is the CIA. I mean, come on, Jesus. I mean, yeah. I'd be worried if it were NASA, to be honest, but CIA.
That was not something that you have firsthand knowledge about. You weren't there. What do you have firsthand knowledge about?
Well, I can't say because of NDAs and disclose. If he says that, it's like, come on.
Well, boy, how much time do you have, Elizabeth?
We've got about 7 minutes.
Okay, so as you may know, I ran the government's program at the Pentagon roughly from around 2010 called AATIP to about 2017 when I resigned in protest.
AATIP is the program.
We all know what AATIP is. Get on with it.
That is in charge of studying aliens.
And it's not 7 minutes. It's about 3 minutes left of this clip.
And reverse engineering, right?
Correct. Despite, well, not exactly. It was the Pentagon's investigation into UFOs, or what we now call UAP. And it was replaced later by an organization that was called the UAP Task Force, which, by the way, one of those individuals, the leader of that, was also in our documentary. He's also an executive producer, Jay Stratton. And then later on, Arrow replaced that organization. So there's been a lot of people are surprised to learn that the Pentagon, A, studied UFOs, but B, continues to study UFOs and has for a very, very long time.
Well, I suppose there's two elements then, based on what he said. If the government's spending money going, we're investigating UFOs because we've got no idea what they are and where they are. I mean, we need to know what's flying around in our skies. But on the other side, you've got the CIA and the Air Force meeting in clandestine meetings on the edges of Air Force bases with non-human intelligence. They already know what they are. So isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money?
We know from the documentary
But I think it's more the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
that they're not just studying UFOs. You say we're trying to reverse engineer from this spacecraft that we have found.
Calling it spacecraft. The terminology on NewsNation needs to be consistent. consistent. And to be fair to them, props to NewsNation. They seem to be the only news outlet that's actually give a platform on this topic. Others are maybe following suit, slowly but surely. But NewsNation's props. Spacecraft means a craft that's traveled through space. We don't know what they are. And Lou, you need to correct her. We don't know what they are or where they're from.
Use that technology and
that picture they keep showing, for me, that's just a bunch of fucking balloons.
we're in a secret sort of arms race with Russia and China, who both also have alien spaceships. The documentary report.
Let it slide.
Reports that the Soviets found a big one back in 1989. Do we know when the Chinese found?
The Soviets found a big one in 1989. Where? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? That janky AI video that someone posted all over X and TikTok.
Found one, and how do we know that anyway?
Sure. Well, let me give you some more compelling information here, perhaps, that you may not be aware of. Just recently, there was another hearing on the Hill under oath, and one of the individuals to testify under oath was a journalist named George Knapp. George Knapp testified that back in the early 90s, right when the Berlin Wall came down, there was this brief period of cooperation between then former Soviet Union and the United States, and he received a handful of classified, very classified documents from Russian generals about their UFO program and the reverse engineering program, and he actually successfully smuggled them out of Russia and brought them here to the United States. So there's a lot of information suggesting that both Russia and other adversaries have their own UAP program. And in fact, China has already admitted it publicly in a newspaper that they have their own UFO program and have been petitioning the United Nations in order to help lead a worldwide investigation. Now, I'm not sure.
Could the Chinese be the disclosure government? Would anyone trust it? You know, if this technology is so far in advance, maybe we just can't crack it. You know, we like to think that we're quite a technologically advanced civilization, but if you went back in time, was it Stanton Friedman made the perfect example? He says, can you imagine you go back 200 years and you give Christopher Columbus a nuclear sub and say, here's a nuclear sub and an unlimited budget, and I want 2 more. Would he be able to do it? Absolutely no chance. And it might be the same with NHI technology. We look at it and go, we've got no absolute idea how any of this shit works. We don't even know what it's made of. We don't know the manufacturing process, where it's from. And I can completely understand that.
Comfortable with China necessarily doing that.
But to crack something like this would take a global effort, and put it out there in the public means that every scientist worth his salt or her salt would actually want to work on these things. Whereas at the moment, it's just these secret Brent Spinner types from Independence Day that are in underground bunkers somewhere, allegedly.
But it shows the level of eagerness that some of our adversaries are displaying towards this topic of UAP. Remember, this is a topic that for a long time was really fraught with stigma and taboo. And I think only now we're beginning to get to the point where within the American psyche, we can actually have a serious conversation and not think about, you know, little green men or Elvis on the mothership.
Or aliens on spaceships.
Or tinfoil hats.
Right, so, yeah, I think the needle is ever moving slowly towards disclosure, or some form of disclosure. I truly believe that. I've never really felt that, but I do feel it now that we're moving closer to an understanding that we're not alone. Maybe not these are the NHI, come on out, you know, this is the technology, this is where they're from, but there is some sort of understanding that the fundamental truth is we're not alone. And we maybe haven't ever been for thousands of years that they've been interacting with us. It's a bit of a worry, though, if the only interaction with humanity is, you know, Force and CIA. But maybe they're interacting with the Chinese and the Russians. Who knows? It's always the Chinese, Russians, and Americans, though. What about the French, the Brits, the Canadians, the Australians, North Koreans, South Koreans, Germany? You know, there's a raft of other nations. It's always to be the big three that get sorts of in this topic. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you think the needle is moving closer to disclosure? I think it is. If I had to put it on the doomsday clock, I'd probably put it at 3 minutes to midnight. We're getting there, but it's not quite there yet. Anyway, you take care. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.